All right, so yesterday we introduced factoring when your GCF was equal to 1. Okay, as a reminder, ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, the a I'm referring to is the leading coefficient of that quadratic. So now we're going to look at the situation for how to handle it when your leading coefficient is something other than 1. I demonstrated the box method yesterday, but it wasn't necessary to use the box method every single time unless that was just a preference. However, today we will need to utilize the box method because the process is a little bit more complex when our a value is something other than 1. So what we're going to start with doing is we are going to multiply our a value to the back, okay? So when I multiply 2 times -7, okay, I'm getting -14. So we want to know, okay, what multiplies to give us -14, but adds to give us the middle term. So we could use the values -7 and +2, right? That adds to give you -5, but it multiplies to give you a -14. Okay, so we have our magic numbers. Oops, let me grab my highlighter. What we're going to do is we're going to take those magic numbers and put them inside of our box. So we have -7x and a +2x. It doesn't matter which box you put them in. Okay, but now that we have them in here, we're going to find the GCF of this column. So what can I divide out of both of these boxes? I could divide out a 2 and an x. What could I divide out of both of these boxes? I could divide out a -7. What can I divide out of both of, this row? I could take out just an x. And what can I take out of this row? Well, you can't take out an x, and 2 and 7 are not divisible by the same number, so the greatest common factor is a 1. So what I just found is that 2x minus 7 times x plus 1 are the factors for this trinomial. If you wanted to check your answer, we would just redistribute. Okay, that would give you 2x squared plus 2x minus 7x minus 7. When you combine the like terms, we get 2x squared minus 5x minus 7, which is the original trinomial we started with. All right, let's try this process again. All right, remember, when the leading coefficient is something other than 1, we are going to multiply it to the back. Okay, so we want to find out what multiplies to give us a -12, okay, but adds to give us the middle term. All right, so again, multiply that to the back. It's what multiplies to give you the last number, but adds to give you the middle number. Well, let's play around with some factors of 12. Maybe we could play around with 6 and 2. However, if we want it to be -12, we're going to have to put a negative on one of the values. If we want it to add to be +4, it looks like we're going to have a -2, which then our magic numbers are complete. So one of my magic numbers is a +6. The other magic number is a -2. We're going to put the first term in the first box, the last term in the last box, and then our magic numbers were a 6 and a -2. Okay, we can find the GCF of this column. Looks like you could take an m out. We'll take the GCF of this column. Looks like all you could take out is a 2. For this row, you could take out both a 3 and an m. This row has a leading negative, so we're going to take out a -2. So my final answer is m plus 2 times 3m minus 2. And I'm just going to box that off. If you wanted to, you could take the time to check your work, okay, just by redistributing. All right, let's try the process again. We want to find Okay, what multiplies to give us negative 30, but adds to give us a positive 7. Okay, well, let's play around with factors of 30. Maybe we could play around with 3 and 10. The negative would have to be on the 3 in order for this to add to be a positive 7, but still multiply to give us a negative 30. Okay, so I found that my magic numbers were negative 3 and 10. Put your first term in the first box, last term in the last box. One of my magic numbers goes here. My other magic number goes there. Okay, let's take out the GCF of each column and each row. On this one, you could divide out a 5 and an A. This one has a leading negative, so you could take out a negative 3. On this row, you could take out an A. And on this row, you could take out a 2. Now we found that our final answer would be 5A minus 3 times A plus 2. And I'll just go ahead and box that off. All right, so as the problems progress, okay, they're taking away the supports, they're taking away the product sum for us, they're taking away the box. So you're going to have to start doing some of those steps on your own. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a box for ourselves. First term goes in the first box, last term goes in the last box, and now we need to find the magic numbers. Okay, slip that leading coefficient to the back, giving us 10. So we want to know what multiplies to give us 10, but adds to give us negative 11. Well, let's play around with 10 and 1. Okay, if you make them both negative, a negative times a negative will give you a positive 10, but a negative plus a negative will give you that negative 11. So it looks like I found my magic numbers. One is a negative 10, the other one is a negative 1. Now we can take the GCF out of this column. The GCF out of this column, since there's a leading negative, I will take out the negative 5. GCF out of this row, you could take out a 2 and an X. And on this one, there's nothing you can divide out other than the number 1. Right? You could divide both of those by 1. So my final answer is 2x plus 1 times x minus 5. Again, the order of this does not matter. So if you write it this way, it's fine. If you were to write it this way, that would also be fine. All right, let's do one more in this video. Give ourselves a box to work with. First term goes in the first box. Last term goes in the last box. And then we need to play around and figure out what multiplies to give us negative 40, but adds to give us a negative 18. Remember that if you're ever stuck with this, we can use our table feature in our calculator. So if I want to find factors of 40, 40 divided by x, and then we can play around with where the negatives go. We want it to add to be a negative 18. Well, if you play around with the negative on the 2 and the 20, we could do, let's see, a negative 20 plus 2 would give us negative 18. Negative 20 times 2 would give us negative 40. So it looks like we found our magic numbers were negative 20 and a positive 2. Let's take the GCF of this column, which is V, the GCF of this column, which there is a leading negative. So it looks like we could take out a negative 4. The GCF of this row would be both a 5 and a V. The GCF of this row would just be a 2. So I'm getting 5V plus 2 v minus 4. Now again, if you ever feel just not confident in your answer, we can check ourselves. If we were to check ourselves, that would give us 5v squared minus 20v plus 2v minus 8, which if you combine like terms, we get 5v squared minus 18v minus 8. Okay, feel free to rewatch this video as many times as you would like. Then you're going to do the practice problems on the back. Okay, once you have attempted those practice problems, sorry about the announcement.
Thank you.
Okay, once you have completed the 4 questions on the back, Ms. Miller is going to check your answers. Once they are correct, you can move on to your homework assignment. Good luck.